The rain fell hard that night, drumming against the hospital windows as the billionaire paced the hallway, his expensive shoes squeaking on the linoleum floor. His face pale, his eyes wild. He gripped his phone, shouting at the doctor. There must be something else. Money is not an issue, do whatever it takes. But the doctor's voice was quiet, resigned. We've tried everything, sir. Your daughter's condition is worsening. Her heart can't take much more. He turned away his hand, trembling against the wall. His little girl lay in the room beyond, surrounded by machines, her skin ashen, her breathing shallow. He had built empires across the world, yet could not fix the one thing that mattered most. Outside the hospital, a poor mechanic worked under a flickering streetlight. His clothes soaked, his hands black with grease. He looked up as a nurse ran past in tears, then spotted a car parked nearby, its headlights still on. Inside was a young girl, unconscious, alone. He rushed forward, pulling the door open, but realized too late she wasn't alone. Her father, the billionaire, stood behind him, wild-eyed and desperate. "What are you doing?" the billionaire barked, stepping closer. The mechanic stammered, "I saw the lights on, thought someone was hurt." "Sir, she's my daughter," the man snapped. The mechanic's gaze softened as he took in the child's frail face. Then something in his eyes changed, recognition and urgency. "Sir, I think I can help," he said quietly. The billionaire laughed harshly. "You fix cars, not people." The mechanic didn't flinch. "No, sir, I fix engines, but I know about them because of my wife. She was a paramedic before she died. She taught me things that save lives for a heartbeat." Neither man moved. Then the little girl's chest hitched. Her breathing faltered and time seemed to stop. The billionaire froze, panic flooding his veins as alarms from the machines shrieked through the sterile hall. Doctors hadn't returned yet, and his daughter's small body was turning, limp before his eyes. The mechanic stepped forward, dropping to his knees beside her. "Sir, please trust me. I've seen this before. If we wait even another minute." The billionaire's voice cracked. "You're not a doctor." The mechanic's eyes burned with urgency. "No, but I know what's happening. Her airway is closing. I can help. I just need something sharp and clean now." Without thinking, the billionaire ripped the pen from his jacket pocket. The mechanic snapped it open, steady hands working as if time itself obeyed him. He tilted the girl's chin, lifted her neck, and whispered softly like a prayer, "It's okay, sweetheart. Breathe for me." The billionaire stood frozen, his heart in his throat, as the man pressed the tube in place, air rushing back into her lungs. A small sound filled the room, a fragile gasp, but it was life. The girl's chest lifted once, twice, then steadied. The billionaire sank to his knees beside them, shaking in disbelief. The mechanic's hands trembled, but his voice was calm. "She's breathing now, she's safe." For the first time in years, the billionaire had no words, only tears. He looked at the man who moments ago was just a stranger covered in grease. Now he looked like a guardian sent from heaven, the doctor. Rushed in, stopping short at the sight. The billionaire turned to him, his voice breaking. "He saved her, he saved my little girl." The mechanic stepped back quietly, shaking his head. "I just did what anyone should, sir." But deep down, both men knew not everyone would have had the courage. The billionaire sat beside his daughter's bed, his hand clutching hers, while the mechanic waited quietly by the door. Nurses moved around them, checking vitals, whispering that the girl's breathing had stabilized. The billionaire looked up, his voice barely steady. "You knew exactly what to do, how?" The mechanic hesitated, then spoke softly. "My wife used to teach emergency medicine before she passed away. We couldn't afford fancy hospitals, but she never turned anyone away. Sick, poor didn't matter. She said if your hands can save someone, you use them no matter who they are." He smiled faintly, his eyes glistening. "When she died, I couldn't save her. I promised I'd never stand by again. When someone was in trouble, the..." Billionaire's throat tightened as guilt washed through him. He looked at his trembling hands, hands that signed checks and contracts, but had never done anything to save a life. He rose slowly, walking over to the mechanic, his voice low. "I thought money could buy everything, but tonight it couldn't buy one breath for my child." "You did." The mechanic shook his head gently. "No, sir, your faith did. You let me help when you could have thrown me out. That's what saved her." The billionaire looked away, blinking hard as tears fell for the first time in years. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a card, scribbling something on the back. "Take this address. Come tomorrow." The mechanic frowned. I don't need a reward, sir. The billionaire gave a small broken smile. It's not a reward, it's a thank you. The next morning, the mechanic arrived at the address written on the card, expecting nothing more than a handshake or maybe a simple thank you. Instead, he stopped in awe at the sight before him. The billionaire stood at the gates of one of his largest company buildings, surrounded by reporters and staff. The moment he saw the mechanic, he smiled genuinely for the first time in years. "Come in, son," he said, his voice steady but warm. "Everyone here should meet the man who reminded me what life truly means." The mechanic blinked, confused. "Sir, I didn't—" The billionaire raised a hand gently. "You did more than you know." He turned to the crowd, his voice carrying across the courtyard. "I've spent my life building machines, money and power, but last night I met a man who builds hope. When the doctors failed my daughter, this mechanic saved her because he had the courage to care. And I realized something. The greatest fortune is not built in banks but in hearts." The crowd fell silent. The billionaire stepped closer, placing an envelope in the mechanic's hand. Inside was not a check, but a deed. The deed to a new garage and medical outreach center, built in his late wife's name. The pie. Mechanic's eyes filled with tears, his voice trembling. "You named it after her." The billionaire nodded softly. "It's where skill and kindness meet, because that's what saved my family." The two men shook hands, not as rich and poor, but as equals, as fathers who had both known love and loss. And as the cameras flashed, the billionaire turned to the crowd and said quietly, "Every life you touch with kindness adds something money never will. Meaning. If this story moved you, share it so others. Never forget that one selfless act can rewrite a destiny in ways no one sees coming."